So because we are, most of our daily activities take place in the sagittal plane, yoga provides this great opportunity to move in the other planes. And most of us experience that at some level. You're like, oh, it feels really good to do a twist. You know, it feels really good to do a back bend. And today we're working with in the coronal plane, and Saturday as well. So a lot of lateral opening. And when I talk about the lateral sheath, you know, the body is covered in this big net of myofascial material. Okay. And so when I talk about the lateral sheath, I'm talking about that myofascial sheath. That when we start to move in and break that down and open that up, it allows us to access more of the inner body. Okay, so we move from outer to inner, so lateral to back and front, and to spiraling sheaths and core sheath. So you'll notice today, even though the emphasis is on lateral sheath and on moving in the coronal plane, you'll still do some twisting, you'll still do some little back bending and opening, but there's an emphasis on the lateral sheath. So if you think for a minute of postures that you're familiar with that open the side body, right? You can just think about a couple of postures right off the top of your head. You probably went to Trikonasana, triangle, Ardha Chandrasana, extended side angle. And we'll do a few of those things, but we're going to do some really very specific work on the floor with the lateral sheath. So I think I'll leave it there, and then on Saturday I'll introduce some of the musculature. Great. So find a sitting posture that feels good to you, and close your eyes down if that feels okay. And if sitting is not what you need this morning, you could go right to your back. We'll start there eventually. And then just give up thinking for a while. For a few breaths, just allow yourself to feel your body beneath your mind. It's very exhausting to think all the time, so see if you can give that up. And let your breath be full and even. So inhale and exhale, same length. And just settle into your physical body. And I would invite you to come into this hour with a spirit of inquiry rather than performance. So yoga, to me, is this great practice of knowing ourselves better in the physical body and the subtle body, emotional body, what comes up in our practice. And we practice with self-compassion and kindness. As you continue to breathe, just familiarize yourself with that fullness of breath. So we'll You really want to move today with the breath as the container. So the inhale and the exhale are a little bit longer than the movement. The breath contains the movement. If it's in your practice to set an intention or a sankalpa, you could take your hands to the heart and think about an intention, what really matters to you. And then on your next 3 exhales, just a silent inner Om. Inhale through the nostrils, and on the exhale, feel the vibration of the Om. And then I'll do one just out loud here, so join in if you like. Om. You could blink your eyes open and make your way to your mat and begin on your back. And just take a couple of minutes while I shift my position to move in any way that feels good to you. Just, again, further exploring your embodied self. And I'll lead in a couple minutes. So if you don't already have your knees bent, go ahead and bend your knees and take the soles of your feet to the floor. And then just let your knees move softly right to left. And take your time to really feel the breath and the movement together. So sometimes when we rush through things, we have less sensitivity to what's happening. So take your time. Arms could be by your side or out in the T position. Just feeling into your pelvis, your low back. And then take your arms into sort of a Y position above your head. And the next time that your knees fall to the left, reach your right arm up and away. And feel how that encourages a lengthening through the whole right side body. And then inhale the knees back up to center, drop the knees to the right, and inhale and extend your left arm long. So you're just stretching through left side body. So that's the little pattern. Knees to the left, reach right arm long. Inhaling back to center, knees to the right, and reach the left arm long. Carry on just for a few more rounds. And if it feels appropriate for you, you can hold a little bit longer on one side. And once you've done an even number, bring the knees back to center. And now take your legs long on the mat. Pull your toes back towards your shins and interlace your hands underneath your head. So hands underneath the back of the skull and toes actively pulling towards shins. Press your right heel away and slide your right elbow back. So your arms stay on the floor, and you just slide and point the right elbow back. And then as you release, you'll press into the left heel and slide the left elbow back. And here, as you go back and forth, you should feel some nice opening under the armpit and through the side waist. The ribs, the rib cage on right and left side, and maybe even in your outer hip. Do a few just like that. And the next time you come back to center, keep the toes pulling back towards the shins and take your right foot over to the right corner of your mat. Bring your left foot alongside so the feet are in Tadasana. Or if you have the space, drape your left ankle on top of your right. And then slide your left elbow back. So your body's making the shape of a bananasana here. And you feel the whole left side opening, getting more spacious. Just 2 more breaths here. And then as you release and come back to center, take your left foot over to the left corner of your mat. Slide your right foot beside it, or drape the right ankle on top of the left ankle. And slide your right elbow back. Feel an opening now in the right side body. All the way down the right side of the leg. And then come back to center. Now, if you have a block, you're going to take your block, bend your knees, and take your block between, at any orientation, right between the feet. So the ankles are pressing into the block. And hopefully you can see that. I'll kind of turn this way. You got the block between your feet, and you're squeezing the block with your ankles. Big toe mound. And then extend your legs to any amount and squeeze in on the block. Pull your toes back towards your shins. If you can reach the lower leg, you'll feel your outer leg. That's the peroneus muscles. You'll feel the outer leg fired up here. Okay, so it's part of the lateral sheath, the outer lower leg. And we're just introducing it for something later, or some things later. Good. If you don't have a block, don't worry about it. Just you skip this part. And then just release the block down. You could put it at the top of your mat for later on. And then roll onto one side and come up onto your forearm. So legs extended, and you're resting on your forearm. And now we'll just introduce the obliques. Okay, so on your inhale, you just let your side body sort of sag down towards the floor. And on your exhale, draw your waist up towards midline. So you're drawing the side body up, away from the floor, and then you let it sag down or let it reach down towards the floor and lengthen, and then exhale, pull back up. Just do a few times there, just familiarizing yourself. You could even take your top hand and feel underneath, feel the firmness of the side waist. So we know that we have to work both lengthening and strengthening. Great. And then once you've done a few rounds there, flip to the other side. You're resting on your forearm, legs are long, and you just let your side body reach down to the floor and then press into your forearm and on the exhale and draw the side body up. And if you really wanted to feel that a little more intensely, you could bend your knees and lift your hips off the floor, and you'll feel the work of the obliques of the side body here. And the obliques are a helper muscle to the quadratus lumborum, which is really the big muscle that we're going to be utilizing a lot, one on each side of your body in the side bending. QL, you've probably heard it called that. Now, press yourself up, and you can sit in Vajrasana, which is hips to heels. And if, for anybody that doesn't feel comfortable, take a block in between your ankles, sit your sit bones on it, and you'll be in Varasana, hero pose. So either one of those will work. And then we'll take the left hand to the floor and inhale, right arm up, and exhale over. And then we'll bring the right arm back, and we'll just do that a few times to get the muscles sort of excited about moving here. And so be intentional here as you inhale, arm up, exhale, reach over, inhale, back up, and exhale, hand back to the floor. And then this last time, we'll hold this. So right arm is up and over. Can you balloon your right lung up towards the ceiling? Good. And then inhale, right arm back up and over, and we'll start the other side. So inhale, left arm up, exhale over, inhale back to center, and exhale down. And then 3 or 4 times on this side before you hold. Ballooning the left lung, really reaching the left lung up towards the ceiling. And then come back to center. Great, we're gonna go to child's pose. And in this child's pose, if you can get your big toes together and your knees wide, big toes together and knees wide, and just come down into the child's pose. And then walk your hands over to the right. Maybe the left hand can reach a little bit longer than, a little bit further than the right. And then feel the left lung reaching up towards the ceiling. So you're almost spiraling a little bit to the left. You're turning your chest to the left. And even as you do that, bring your collarbones back to face the floor. Great. All right, and then on your next inhale, walk your hands through center to the other side, to the left, and the right arm reaches a little bit further now. Balloon your right lung up towards the ceiling. So you're turning your heart space towards the right. So you get that twist, and then bring your collarbones back down to facing the floor, the front of the chest. And then walk your hands back to center. Slide your hands back so that you can come up into table. Take your knees underneath your hips. Just a few cat-cows to find symmetry again. Okay. And then turn your toes under and press your hips up and back in downward facing dog. Put your weight into the outer fingers, so pinky, ring finger, and then roll into the inner fingers and the thumb. Feel the triceps spin down towards the floor. And press the hips back, feel all the length in your side body here. Good, now bend your right knee and tilt your heels over to the right. You should feel a big stretch in the left side body. Left hip might be a little bit higher than the right here. Inhale back to center. Bend the left knee, right leg stays straight. Tilt your heels over to the left. Inhale back to center. Inhale the right leg out behind you. And then rocking forward in sort of a plank position with the knee in towards the chest. Set your right foot down in between your hands and set your left knee down. And then press yourself up. So you're in proposal pose. Okay, so right foot is forward. With the left leg now, the left lower leg, bring it in across midline. So bring it in across midline. And then bring your right forearm to your right leg. Good. And then inhale, reach the left arm up and over. Ballooning your left lung towards the ceiling. Spiral your chest towards the left. And then see if you can bring your collarbones back towards midline. Come back up. Heel toe the right foot out to the right. And bring your right forearm into your leg to sort of open there. Keep that imprint and bring your hands down to the floor, to the left corner of your mat. Bring your right hand a little further than your left and balloon your right lung up towards the ceiling. So you're now spiraling your heart towards the right. And then once you have that little twist, bring your collarbones back to face the floor. Walk your hands back. Heel toe the right foot in, hands around the right foot. Curl your toes, left toes under, and step back, downward facing dog. Bend the right knee, leave the left leg straight. Tilt your heels to the right. Reach the left lung up towards the ceiling. Inhale back to center. Bend the left knee, right leg straight. Tilt your hips to the left. Right hip higher, right side body ballooning towards the ceiling. Inhale back to center. And now inhale the left leg up. Bending at the knee, bringing the knee towards the chest in a sort of a half plank. Set your left foot between your hands, right knee to the floor, and come on up. Good. All right, so now right leg goes across midline. So you're sort of angling it in, left forearm to the left thigh. Inhale, right arm up and over. Ballooning the right side body, the right lung up towards the ceiling. Can you turn your collarbones back down towards the earth, keeping that opening in the side body still? And then hands down to the floor. Heel toe your left foot out to the left edge of your mat. And you can just take your hand, press that knee away, maybe even come up to the outer edge of your foot. Leave that imprint there, and then reach out with the hands to the right corner of your mat. Left hand a little bit longer maybe, and balloon the left lung up towards the ceiling. Walk the hands back to center. Heel toe the left foot in, hands around the left foot, curl back toes, press yourself back, downward facing dog. And then come to your knees in table. Good. Reach the right leg out and either the sole of your foot to the floor. If that doesn't work in your body, you could have your heel to the floor and walk your hands back here. I'm going to come into gate pose. Just turn my orientation. So right leg out. And then with the right hand, just sliding a couple of times before we hold. Just sliding the right hand down, the right leg. And then inhale, opposite arm up, exhale over. Two more breaths here. And then inhale back to center. Take your hands to the floor and walk your hands over to the right. The left hand maybe goes a little bit further than the right. Ballooning your left lung, reaching your left lung up towards the ceiling. And then walk the hands back. Take the right hand underneath the left hand and take the outer side of your bent leg, your left leg. And then both hands in front. Walk your hands back in front, both knees underneath. Now you're back in table, just a few cat-cows to find that symmetry again. And then opposite foot out. Walk yourself up. I'm on my left leg, you might be on the opposite leg, but just opposite leg now, and just sliding that same hand down the leg, just saying, hey, here's where we're going, body. And once you've done 3 or 4 times, inhale, opposite arm up and over. Gate pose. Two more breaths. And then inhale back up. Take your hands to the floor and walk over towards the extended leg. For me, that's the left leg. So if you're on the same orientation as me, can you reach the right hand a little bit further and balloon the right lung up towards the ceiling? And then coming back to center with your hands, left knee under left hip, and a few cat-cows just to neutralize your spine. Turn your toes under, take the hips back, downward facing dog. Bend into the right knee, left knee straight, drop your heels over to the right. Inhale back to center, bend the left knee, right leg straight, drop your heels over to the left. Inhale back, and now we'll come to the knees, just come right down to your knees. So we're gonna do just a sort of a half plank here. Then bend your elbows just slightly, sort of a chaturanga variation. And then just sway your hips side to side. Just a little bend in the elbows, sway the hips side to side. And then coming to center, come right down onto your belly and come into the Sphinx. So elbows underneath shoulders. Okay. Bring your right forearm across so that your fingertips come towards your left elbow. Okay, and then you're gonna lift the left leg and bring it across your midline, over to the other side of your right leg. You should feel this in the outer left hip. Bring that leg back. Right forearm goes back into the Sphinx. Bring the left forearm across so that your fingertips touch the right elbow, the inside of the right elbow. Forearm parallel with the short edge of your mat. Lift your right leg up and bring it across your left leg. And you'll feel this in the right outer leg. And then bring that leg back, bring the forearms back. And now just do the same thing, but in more of a vinyasa. So you'll bring the right forearm across, left leg across, swing it back, arm back, left forearm across, right leg across, back, right forearm across, left leg across. Just move back and forth a few times in that vinyasa. And when you've done that a few times, come back to center, make a little pillow with your hands, drop your forehead to that pillow, bend your knees, draw your tailbone long, and then just let your feet move back and forth in that windshield wiper action. Take your feet around in a circle, reverse the circle, and then stretch through each leg. Bring your hands alongside your low ribs. You can press right up through chaturanga or use table to come up and step back, downward facing dog. Feel the length in your side body here in the downward dog. And then on your inhale, walk your feet up to your hands. If you have your block here, that could be nice to press now into a halfway lift and lengthen through the side waist. Lengthen the sides of your neck as you reach your crown forward, crown of your head forward, and then exhale to fold again. Great. Take your hands to your hips, bending at the knees slightly, hinge up at the waist, coming into Tadasana. Good, and then if you have the block, you're gonna take the block between your ankles again, squeezing the block between your ankles. We'll just revisit what we did on the floor. If you don't have a block, it's okay. You can skip this or come back to it. So squeezing the block between your ankles, lift the block up, come onto your toes and lift the back of the block up and then set it back down. Squeeze the block between your ankles, come up onto your toes and set it back down. So we tend to ignore this outer muscle. So just playing with that outer muscle, strengthening that out the peroneus. Squeezing the block between the ankles, coming up onto our toes, and setting the block back down. You might not get it up off the ground very, very much. That's okay. Just play with that a few more times. And then meet me at the top of the mat. Good. Okay, so take a slight bend in your knees, right foot forward, step your left foot back into Virabhadrasana 1 shape. Just gonna move my mat a little bit so I'm in the picture. Good. And then right arm underneath left arm, give yourself a hug. This may be your arm position. You have a slight bend in the front knee. And if you can come into Garudasana arms, ego arms, go ahead and do that. Reach the elbows away. Feel a nice opening behind the shoulder blades. And then you're going to bow here inside the front leg. Let your back round in this position. Now you've got your arms crossed at the elbows. Just release the hands and take left hand to outer right leg and right hand to left leg. So your arms are reaching for the opposite legs. Release the grip on your legs and bring your hands over to the left side of your mat. Balloon the right lung up towards the ceiling. Little bend in the front knee. And then reach the left hand longer now and balloon the left lung up to the ceiling. You might be on your fingertips here with the left hand. Now walk your hands back to center, taking your hands on either side of the front foot. Step your back foot back slightly, and then come into high plank, high dandasana. Good. Turn the feet to the left. You can stack them or leave them separated and come into Vasisthasana, side plank. Lift the bottom waist up towards the midline. Come back. Set the hips back, up, downward dog. And then inhale to walk forward to your hands, lifting into a halfway lift. Really feel the length of your side body, and exhale, fold. Hands to hips. Press yourself up, hinge up at the waist, back into Tadasana. We'll do the other side now, so we'll bend slightly through the knees and take the left foot back, about 2.5 feet or so. Front leg is bent slightly, back leg is straight. Now it's left arm under right, give yourself a hug. This could be where you fold. If you can wrap up in the Garudasana arms, do that first. Reach the elbows away. Really feel an opening across your back, and then fold inside the front leg. Then you release your hands, take right hand to outer left leg, left hand to outer right thigh, and spiral the right lung towards the ceiling. You might have to play with the position of your hands to really feel that opening, that stretch. And then release your hands to the floor, over to the right side. Balloon the left side up towards the ceiling. So you're really lengthening through the left side. You might have to move the left hand a little further. And then you'll move the right hand a little further and balloon the right side up. And then both hands come to the front of the mat. You heel toe your left foot in, turn the back foot, set it back a bit, step back, downward facing dog, high dandasana. Then we go to the other side, so turn the feet to the left, to the right, and come up into Vasisthasana, side plank on the other side. Really lift the lower side waist up towards midline. And then release. Good. And come to downward dog. Come to your knees. Do the little half chaturanga. And now, if it feels good to your body, you might take your hips all the way over and touch them on the floor. Back to center, all the way over and touch the other side. Or you might just sway the way we did the first time. Do what's right for you. Coming back to center, turn toes under, downward facing dog. Inhale to walk your feet forward. Coming into a halfway lift. Hands could be on the shins or the thighs. Going for a nice flat back, good extension. And then hands to hips, hinging up at the waist. Come to Tadasana. Just let everything go for just a minute and feel in your Tadasana the integration of all this movement. Good. Then we'll take a wide stance. So you'll be facing the long edge of your mat, wide stance. Turn the right toes out. So you're in triangle legs. And then just bend and extend through the front leg a little bit. Hands could be at hips. And we're going to side angles. So eventually, you're going to take that front leg and really stack it over the second and third toe. Bring your forearm to the leg. Back hand stays on the hip. Feel length in both side bodies, both sides of the body, underside as well. And then reach up and over. Palm faces the floor. Extended side angle. Take a couple of breaths here and really feel, maybe even trying to spiral your chest up towards the ceiling or lifting the left lung towards the ceiling. And then bring your top hand back to your hip and just let the front leg straighten naturally, reaching your front hand down to your shin. So again, you want to feel length in both sides of the body, the one facing the ground, the one facing the ceiling. Pull the side waist in, bottom sideways, pull it up towards midline. Now you could stack the arms in Trikonasana. 2 full breaths. And then to come out, you can bend the front knee and slide yourself up. Turn the feet. We'll go to the other side. So just beginning to work in the front knee a little bit. And then we'll come forearm to the front leg. Feel the length in both side bodies and the work of the obliques in the underside body, reaching up and over. Now extended side angle on this side. Top, the palm is facing the floor. So think about spinning the pinky down slightly and reaching the right side waist up towards the ceiling. Your gaze could be down at the floor, but do try to keep the neck long wherever your gaze is, forward or up to your upper arm. Keep the sides of the neck long. Top hand comes to the hip, and we just straighten the front leg and slide that hand to wherever it's just gonna naturally fall. It might be on your thigh, might be on your shin. Some of you might have it down on your foot. Keep both sides of the waist long, and then stacking the top arm in Trikonasana. Two more breaths. And then you'll bend through the front leg and sweep yourself back up, taking now just both, you can heel toe both feet together, maybe do a little movement in the hips. And now we're gonna do this thing against the wall. So some of you that have practiced with me a lot, we've done this before, you'll probably want a block for this. And I call this sort of a floppy Ardha Chandrasana half moon. So I'm going to start with one hip into the wall. The same hand has the block. And again, I just need enough wall space to rest my hip here. So I'm going to bring the block forward of my front foot and in really quite close to the wall space, or to the right. I have my right foot forward, so I have the block to the right of that foot. And then when I get my weight into my standing leg and lift in Ardha Chandrasana, I'm just resting my body against the wall here. Great, and so then I'm gonna let my legs sort of flop down and let my top arm sort of flop down. So I'm in a sort of a droopy Ardha Chandrasana. Great. So if you need a little visual, you can look here. And you could play around with maybe even bringing the collarbones down towards the floor again. Really feel this. I feel this really intensely in my outer lats, deltoid, sideways, and encourage that back leg. Let that back leg just sort of be heavy. To come out of this, I'll turn my gaze to my hand. I can take my top hand and rest it on my bottom hand and slowly turn my body, square my hips and bring both feet together, and then hinge up at the waist, and we'll change sides. So the block goes out about 10 inches to a foot in front of your front leg, closer into the wall. And then you'll come in, lift the back leg using the strong hip muscles, but that's what we're gonna now lengthen. So we're gonna let the top leg sort of droop, and then we're gonna bring the arm up and over and almost make that banana shape, right, that we did on the floor, but with the standing leg added. And then you could let the top arm, you could sort of curl in towards the floor, bring your collarbones to face the floor a bit. Really make sure that you have the standing leg hip muscles engaged, drawing the hip in, Again, to come out, you could turn your gaze down towards your hand, reach top hand down to bottom hand, get a little balance, turn your hips slowly and come to both feet together and hands to hips. Hinge yourself up and come to the top of your mat. Arms to the side. Inhale, sweep the arms up, and exhale, fold. Plant your hands, step your feet back, downward facing dog. Couple breaths there in the downward dog. And then come forward to high plank, dropping the knees or lowering through chaturanga. Bend the knees slightly here again. And you can just sway the hips back and forth. Coming all the way down to your belly, back to the Sphinx pose. Let your head now just really go, and you can draw your chin from side to side. And right down onto the belly. You can rest your forehead on your hands or just on the floor, arms beside you. Lengthen your spine, lengthen your tailbone down. So press your pubic bone into the floor to do that. Bending the knees and taking the feet side to side. Okay, from here we're just going to roll over. We're going to do one last thing before we settle into Shavasana. So you'll set up as if you're going to do the bridge pose. We are going to do the bridge pose. We're just going to do a little variation here. So arms could be on the floor, palms down, or you could use the robot arms here. So press into your feet and lift your hips. And then walk your right foot over to the right edge of your mat. Cross your left leg over your right leg. Squeeze lower legs together and lift the left hip a little bit higher than the right. Now the upper legs should feel like they're pressing out against like maybe a strap while the lower legs stay squeezing. And you really feel this, should feel this in your left hip. Okay, then unwind. Come through center. Take the left foot over to the left side. Right leg crosses over. The right hip a little higher. Squeeze the lower legs together and imagine you have a strap around your thighs. You're breaking out against the strap. There it is. Release. Come back to center. And now just to get that symmetry, roll down one vertebra at a time. And then just do a couple of rolling dynamic bridges just to get back into more symmetrical shape. After we go into asymmetry, you want to come back to symmetry. And from here then, friends, anything that you might like a figure 4 after that, right? The supine pigeon. You could finish with a twist. So just listen to your body here, what you might need. And then settle on your mat in Shavasana. Allow your feet to fall out to the sides. Typically the arms away from the body, not touching the body, but you could also rest your hands on your belly. And sense any increased spaciousness from your practice. You soften the muscles around your eyes. Between the brow. Soften your hands. And complete your practice with of a higher vibration feeling attitude. So that could be offering gratitude, thinking about the people you love, what brings you joy. And you may stay as long as you wish in the Shavasana, or you could join me in a seat. Bringing your hands to heart center with intention, perhaps even letting the thumbs just tap on the heart space. May the merit of our practice encourage all beings to unveil the hidden brilliance that lies within. Namaste.